Hello, everyone. Welcome to our show today called NG 英文. My name is John Drummond, or Yang Haoen.
Hello， 大家好，欢迎回到我们西平方的节目 NG 英文，我是 Angela。We
have a great episode for you today with the co-founder of 2-3 Comedy here in Taiwan, Sam.
是的，今天我们很幸运的邀请到了台湾脱口秀数一数二的搞笑专家 Sam 来到 NG 英文，跟大家聊他脱口秀的背景、二三喜剧俱乐部的故事，以及一路走来学语言的相关经验。
My guest today is an American. He has been living in Taiwan for about 7 years now. He is a stand-up comedian, host, writer, visionary, co-founder of 2-3 Comedy, and so much more. So everyone, please welcome my good friend, Sam.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, man.
Yeah,
Pleasure to be here.
Dude, you are such a rock star. I am just fascinated to learn more about your life here and share kind of your story with our audience. So before we jump into everything, let's just kind of give a quick overview of what you do here primarily in Taiwan. So
yes, sir.
Can you share what is your kind of main vision here in Taiwan?
访谈开始呢，我们先来了解一下John提到的这个字 rock star。好，从字面上来看的话，大家可能都知道是摇滚巨星、摇滚明星的意思，但其实呢，它也可以用来形容一个很有才华、很成功厉害、让人崇拜的人哦。可能私底下John就是他的一个小粉丝，很崇拜他吧。好，我们还是言归正传。原来呢 Sam 是二三喜剧俱乐部的老大哥，而且是全台北唯一的一间中英双语脱口秀哦。他说啊，这脱口秀俱乐部的发展是他目前最主要的目标。虽然说自己本身也是名喜剧演员，也会做演出，但首要之务还是希望把俱乐部好好经营下去。我们赶快来听他的故事。
Absolutely. Well, I'm the owner of 2-3 Comedy Club, the only bilingual comedy club here in Taipei over on Linsen Beilu. That's my main focus right now. I'm a stand-up comic and performer as well, but right now the club is the baby, and that's where most of my energy goes these days.
Beautiful. So that was such a nice sum up right there. I love it. That was so efficient.
Even tight.
Yeah. And yeah, so you are part owner of 2-3 Comedy and creating this beautiful scene of English comedy and Mandarin Chinese comedy,
right,
and growing this scene here that you were sharing off air with me kind of started very organically and you didn't really know what to do with it, but now it's blossomed into something incredible. So let's start with the journey of where did your comedy career begin?
紧接着山姆大哥会跟大家聊到说啊，他这个喜剧事业的一切都是在高雄展开的。当时他朋友鼓励他说，可以上台去表演试试看啊，总是要先跨出第一步才会有下一步嘛，对不对？所以虽然说 Sam 是很紧张，但也是咬着牙硬着头上台展开他的第一场演出。他说那时候一整个礼拜都在练习，结果没想到现场没有其他表演者，就只有他一个跟他的朋友在主持而已。所以后来整场演出就变成是他朋友主持开场10分钟，他表演2分钟，然后再换他朋友上场。虽然那时候 Sam 他只有短短表演了2分钟，还只戳到一个观众的笑点，但却让他从此之后就爱上表演，整个就上瘾这样子。那这边我们说的上瘾、爱上了，或者这个入迷，好，就是 Sam 最后提到的这个字 hooked, H-O-O-K-E-D, hooked。像最近我很无聊，狂看那个《如懿传》，才刚开始看几集就停不下来，一集接着一集的看下去，整个被剧情迷住，这样子就是一个 hooked 的例子。I was hooked after just one episode. 我才看一集就上瘾，就入迷了。
Like most great comedy careers, in the city of Kaohsiung. Yeah, I started at a bar called Black Dog in Kaohsiung. My friend convinced me to get on stage. It was my first time. I was nervous, so I said, as many people do, you know what, I'll come and watch the first one. I don't think I'm ready to get on stage. And he said, don't be scared. Everyone says that. I'll tell them it's your first time. Get on up. I'll put you in between 2 other comics. It'll be great. And I said, okay, I'll do it. And I practiced, nervously all week. And then I arrived to find that there were no other comics on the show. It was just my friend hosting. So he opened and did 10 minutes. I think I did about 2. And then he did another 15 after me. But somewhere during that 2 minutes, I got one laugh. And I was hooked from there.
I love love that. You got the one laugh, and then that was it.
That's all it took. Yeah.
That's all it took. So were you always kind of writing jokes, or had kind of you been around comedy scene before, or just originate out of nowhere?
接下来他们会讲到 Sam 当初会开始接触脱口秀笑话表演，是因为小时候常跟爸爸一起在车上听 Chris Rock 讲笑话，觉得只是从车子喇叭听人家讲话就可以让爸爸笑成这样子，很厉害，所以就也渐渐产生兴趣。那后来住波士顿的时候呢，跟朋友本来打算要报名上当地的这个即兴表演课程，只是计划赶不上变化，还没报名就搬来台湾了。所以在得知高雄那边有上台表演的机会之后，觉得说不能再错过了，决定尽力一试，好对自己有个交代。所以没想到这一试反而让他创造出未来更多更棒的机会。几个用法我们来认识一下。刚刚讲的这个即兴表演、即兴演出，就是等一下各位会听到的 improv。那这说法呢，其实是从这个字improvised 来的，它有临时、即时创作、即时表演的意思。那另外一个片语是 give it a try， 还有 give it a go。那不管是哪一个，都跟 give it a shot 一样，都可以用来表达试试看，是很道地、很实用的用法哦。赶快来听这段分享吧。
I grew up loving comedy. I remember being young, like driving around, and this shows how old I am, listening to cassettes with my dad of Chris Rock, the Chris Rock cassettes. And we were just laughing and laughing, and just like the experience of like listening to somebody, watching my dad laugh, and the guy's just talking. It's not like a movie, it's no slapstick, it's just coming through the car speakers, and just loving it. And I lived in Boston for a few years, and I had a friend. We always were telling ourselves we're going to take, the stand-up class at the Boston Improv. We're going to do it. And I ended up moving to Taiwan before we ever went through with that. So when the opportunity resurfaced and my friend in Kaohsiung was like, you got to come do it, I was like, all right, I'm not missing this time. I got to give it a go, give it a try. And like I said, one hit was all it took. Yeah.
One hit was all it took. There we go. Yeah. Shout out that Boston scene. That is a rough spot. So.
Yeah. I'm glad I started in Kaohsiung.
I'm glad
I might not have made it.
Yeah. I'm loving that. So, okay. So what's the next chapter of the story of Sam in comedy? So now you got that one laugh, you were in Kaohsiung, and then you came up to Taipei, and what happened next?
接着 Sam 会说到他离开高雄来台北跟朋友一起成立了二三喜剧俱乐部社团之后，主要朝2个目标前进。一个是每周办一场 open mic， 这个开放麦，就是让有兴趣的人都可以上台演出。另外一个则是要让他们这社团成为笑话大本营，成为这个喜剧脱口秀中心，要好好经营他们这个二三喜剧俱乐部。所幸呢，这2个目标现在也都顺利达成，而且都持续正向发展。远在泰国的共同创始人 Meg 想必也是很欣慰。几个字我们来认识一下。第一个 Twofold， 它在这里有2部分的意思。这字很有趣哦，前面这个数字它是可以根据情况做变换的，所以如果你今天是想要表达3个部分，那可以说 Threefold。那4个部分呢，可想而知就是 Fourfold， 以此类推。那另外一个是我们John在最后提到的 hindsight bias。hindsight bias 这片语所表达的就是我们俗话所说的事后孔明。赶快来听吧。
Yeah, basically, after my friends split, I kind of had a crossroads. I knew I wasn't ready to head back to the U.S. and jump in, basically start over in comedy there. And Taipei, there were already a group of people doing comedy up here. So when I moved to Taipei, I started a group called 2-3 Comedy with my good friend Meg Anderson, who's now living in Bangkok. Shout out to Meg. And we started 2-3 Comedy with the initial goal was twofold. One was to establish a weekly open mic in one place in the city, and the other one is to make our venue be like one central home for comedy.
Yeah, beautiful. And a little hindsight bias, you did that.
yeah, we got it. Yeah.
So shout out Meg and you for making that happen. And now the next chapter is kind of how it blossomed even more. So I believe you were doing a lot of comedy with a guy you had just randomly met who came back from France.
再来我们要来聊聊当时他们这脱口秀开始步上正轨 blossom 直线往上发展的时刻。原来之前 Sam 他有一次因缘际会跟刚从法国交换学生回来的 Brian 曾认识，一起在他们的俱乐部做脱口秀表演。 后来有一次某一部上传的影片呢，竟然在短短1个周末就突破300万观看次数，让他们又惊又喜，想说我们是在做梦吗？你快掐我的脸，我快掐你的脸这样子。没有啦，他们没有讲到这是我自己加的。先说那一次的突破真的是让他们大开眼界，意识到说他们创造出了一个谁都没有预料到的奇迹。而且呢，也因为这样子让他们开始朝双语表演发展，除了做英文的脱口秀以外，也有中文的表演，让每个人都可以欣赏他们的演出。这边 John 有提到一个很道地实用的片语哦，我们赶快学起来。 Go viral Go viral 它是爆红的意思。如果你想要表达这支影片在网络上爆红窜红，这样就可以说 The video went viral。 好，喜欢脱口秀的听众朋友，想必你们已经猜到这位 Brian 是谁了吧？没错，就是之前伯恩夜夜秀的伯恩啦。马上来听这段分享吧。
Yeah, foreign exchange kid who came back from France, a guy, Taiwanese guy wearing glasses, like nice guy, named Brian Sung, who now we know is about Boan from the Night Show. And he was doing comedy in English at our venue. And one of his videos he released, all of a sudden there was this one weekend, and over the weekend the video had 3.5 million views, and we all look at each other like, wait, what's going on? And so this caused this explosion, and we started doing a weekly Chinese language open mic as well at the same venue. So and that was when you really started to see the ground shift and be like, oh, what's going on? We've created something that's bigger than just a couple hobbyists getting together and telling some jokes.
Yeah, and I love that. I love how organically this all unfolded for you. So thinking about, so Brian kind of helped that kind of go viral. And then, you guys were like, wait, we should be creating a Mandarin-speaking scene now for the comedy scene. And so that's kind of been really now kind of part of your passion is growing this bilingual comedy scene. Is that right?
前面我们讲到23俱乐部因为伯恩那部爆红的影片而开始发展中英双语表演。而且他们是1周7天，每天都有中文英文的演出哦。Sam 说这个改走双语路线的决定真的是让他们的俱乐部有了前所未见的景象，表演者和演出内容也因此变得更多元更丰富。而且呢，你们知道吗？ Sam 他也因为这样子成为伯恩夜夜秀唯一的一个外国写手，跟团队一起创造有趣好笑的笑话。只是有时候呢，因为中文英文它毕竟是2个截然不同的语言，有一些笑话真的是连伯恩也翻译不过来，没办法用中文来传达 Sam 他的英文笑话来给大家。所以各位亲爱的听众朋友，看在听笑话的份上，我们一定要多吸收世界知识，好好把英文学起来，对不对？不然如果真的不行的话，其实听伯恩的中文演出也就很够你笑了啦。好，不要听我乱讲，不管怎么样，我们还是要乖乖练习英文哦。
Absolutely, yeah. At the club now, 2-3 Comedy Club, we have comedy 7 nights a week, English and Chinese. You can come on a Sunday night and catch a Chinese language manzai show. Tuesday night, a Chinese language open mic. On Monday, have English language improv followed by stand-up. It's all there. And having both of those languages allows us to have this huge diversity of shows and performers.
Yeah, man, I absolutely love that. And that allowed you as an individual to do something so beautiful and unique. You got to be one of the only foreign writers on the Night Show with Brian. Is that right?
That was a really cool experience. Yeah, I started writing for the show in season 2, and I came on season 3 as a full-time writer. And, my Chinese not up to par to write full-time in Chinese, but Brian's English is so good. I would write jokes in English and he would translate ones that work, though that could sometimes be frustrating. I think sometimes I would have a joke that I think would be killer and he's like, this doesn't work in Chinese, man. This doesn't translate. It's not going to work. So it was sometimes frustrating, but also an amazing experience, to be part of that show.
Yeah, it's so beautiful to know you were a writer on like a legit show here in Taiwan. So cool. Congratulations for all of that.
Thanks. Yeah,
and
really
shout
cool.
out to Meg and Brian and and Matt and Brett at 23 Brewing.
Of course, yeah, 23, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you have as your vision for the future of comedy here in Taiwan?
在这段内容里呢 Sam 要来跟各位分享他对于脱口秀未来在台湾的发展。他说我们有越来越多年轻人愿意上台展现自己，中文的表演肯定是会蒸蒸日上，持续蓬勃发扬光大。因为很多人呢平常都是自己本身就会在网络上看一些英文的脱口秀表演，这心里就默默梦想着有一天呢自己也可以上台用中文来演出。那现在既然有了23俱乐部这样的舞台，可以让他们上台表演，让这群满腔热血充满脱口秀热情的朋友都可以大方尽情演出。 所以 Sam 他大胆预测啊，目前这20几岁这一代年轻人一定会带领台湾的中文脱口秀闯出一片天。
Man, I think that things are going to continue to grow. I mean, the most exciting thing here in Taiwan is the explosion of the Chinese language scene, which is what you're seeing is what a real organic comedy scene would have, which is these young kids who have been watching, stand-up clips on YouTube, thinking about doing it, and they're getting into it with the kind of energy and passion that only, someone in their, early 20s can throw into it, just totally head first into the scene, immersing themselves in comedy. And that's where you're going to see the next generation of Brian Sungs coming from, is the kids who are at open mics right now, bombing, failing, trying to find their way on stage. And that's what makes the energy, especially at the Chinese nights, so exciting at the club, is you never know when someone's going to walk in and all of a sudden, blow the roof off. Yeah, so it's really exciting.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I just love that too, and it's just really making me feel inspired by what you guys are doing in the comedy scene. So thinking though a little bit about COVID, as I know that's been such a struggle of trying to get people out to the venue to come for shows, and it makes me think about kind of as the comedy scene grows here in Taiwan organically, do you guys want to try to be bringing big international comedy acts as comedy as a whole grows?
接下来他们会想到啊，未来其中一个最大的目标，当然也就是要跟国际接轨，让二三俱乐部呢也可以要上国际舞台。Sam 说，其实真的他们的俱乐部不管是观众席还是这个音响设备，其实都已经算是国际级的了。那会这样子砸重金设计场地呢，也是因为亚洲地区的英文脱口秀这几年越来越热门，像是新加坡啦、这个香港、上海、曼谷，还有首尔这些跟台北距离不远的亚洲各大都市都有脱口秀的市场，所以希望未来也可以把台北的也搬到国际舞台上，跟各国的这个脱口秀大师们互相交流。这边有个片语 on par with 是跟什么什么一样，跟什么什么相同的意思。像他们说他们俱乐部的设备是 on par with any comedy club in the world。 那这表达的意思呢，就是他们俱乐部的设备跟世界上任何一间俱乐部的设备是一样好的。要小心哦，这边的一样相同跟 same S-A-M-E 不一样哦。 same 它是指一模模一样样，同一个模板印出来那种完全相同。那但是这边的一样是指他们的品质是一样的。中文听起来都是差不多，可是英文上其实意思不太一样哦。
Absolutely, man. That's one of the biggest goals moving forward in the future for our club. We really feel that we've built an international level comedy club here, with our seating capacity, with the sound system we have, with everything there. It's on par with any comedy club in the world. And we did that intentionally because there's been a boom of, comedy, especially English language comedy around Asia. And, you see cities like Singapore embracing it, cities like Hong Kong opening big clubs up, Shanghai, Seoul, Bangkok, all these places around Asia that we're within, shouting distance of. And there's no reason for Taipei not to be one of those cities, one of those destinations. And so we definitely want to be a player in terms of bringing international talent over, developing a pipeline of comics who are eager to travel and eager to perform as soon as we can find a way to do that safely and bring people in.
Yeah, and I wish you nothing but success with that, as I'm a huge fan of comedy, and to see you guys doing what you're doing, it's beautifully inspiring to me.
Cool.
So thinking a little bit about the story of Sam, if you don't mind.
No worries, yeah.
So yeah, you were saying you came to Taiwan about 7 years ago?
Yeah, about 7 years, yeah.
About 7 years ago, yeah. And essentially, what would you say kind of kept you in Taiwan?
接着 Sam 会说到他大概是7年前来到台湾的，那后来会决定在台湾留下来，也是因为这脱口秀的关系。当时他跟朋友花了1整年的时间环岛，到台湾各个城市乡镇演出，除了完成他们的表演梦想以外，也走遍了台湾的大街小巷。他说能够以这样子的方式去认识一个国家真的是很棒，而且呢，也因为这样子让他决定要待在台湾，继续朝他的脱口秀梦想前进。不过是说 Sam 他都在台湾待这么久了，然后之前也有跟那个夜夜秀合作，那他有没有尝试过用中文来演出讲笑话嘞？有是有啦，但是效果不彰。毕竟英文笑话，如果你逐字翻译成中文的话，那真的是没办法把英文好笑的精髓用中文来表达出来。
Not to throw everything back to comedy, but the comedy, man.
Do it, dude. We're here to plug.
That was a huge part of it, man. Yeah, like I had the opportunity to start doing comedy in Kaohsiung, And like I said, the guy I started doing comedy with, Rob Stocky, who's living in New York now, he had this obsession with doing shows all around the island. And so it was a great opportunity for me for a year to travel all around Taiwan as we had this journey of doing shows basically in almost every city or town that we could find any kind of audience for, even some cities that would surprise you probably. So, I mean, it was a really cool way to see a different part of the island, and it just became, that year kind of flew by, and at that point, I realized I never wanted to stop doing comedy, and that Taiwan had become kind of my home.
Yeah, man, I love that so much. And so kind of thinking about your language development and all this, as you were a writer on the Night Night Show, and you were doing a lot of English writing for sure, but you're exposed to so much Chinese now. Have you kind of dabbled in writing Chinese jokes yet?
Absolutely, yeah. I did perform in Chinese a couple of times. I've done the taken advantage of our open mics to try some stuff out, to what I would say very mixed success. Yeah, the main issue is that, like, as a primarily English speaker, you can't, and all the Chinese comics warned me, Brian told me, you can't do that. You can't translate an English joke word for word. It doesn't work. The grammar's not going to match. The syntax is not there. And I still foolishly thought I could get away with it a few times, and the audience corrected me.
Hey, well, that's the honesty, and that's kind of the journey with the language, development over the years. And respect for you just getting up there and trying, because I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So thinking about kind of the language, as you have experience saying jokes in Chinese and in English, kind of what would you say is maybe some tips and advice for new comedians, whether they are speaking English or speaking Chinese?
聊了这么多他们脱口秀的事情，又是英文表演，又是中英双语双管齐下演出。现在我们要请山姆来给新手一些建议，不论你是用英文还是用中文讲笑话，都可以参考参考哦。他说其实不管是用哪一种语言表演，都有我们做中西文化互相交流、互相学习的地方。像是英文表演者常常在最后呢都会有一个 punchline， 有一个这个整个笑话的亮点，一个画龙点睛可以让全场大笑的结尾。那中文的部分呢比较常就会是以讲故事的这个形式来呈现，那最后的结尾呢就多半比较随性自然一点。所以 Sam 觉得英文表演员可以多学习我们中文用讲故事的角度切入，那中文的表演者也可以跟英文的学习，可以在这个故事结尾呢做一个引爆观众笑点的收尾。
I'd say that both sides shouldn't be afraid to learn from each other. The English comedy delivery has a habit of, set up, punchline, these quick type of bits. Whereas Chinese, because they don't have as much of the stand-up background going back as long, there's more of kind of a storytelling element to it, where the laughs can come kind of organically along the way. And I think the English comics can always learn to be better storytellers, and Chinese comics shouldn't be afraid to do a quick setup and punchline to get the laughs on your side early in the set. So I think that both scenes can, and both styles can help each other.
Yeah, that's beautiful with the storytelling in the Mandarin language for sure, absolutely. And then the quick hitty one little punchline that you drop here and there with English for sure. So thinking then a little bit about your own journey with Mandarin Chinese, do you remember kind of any stories where you stumbled over maybe speaking some Chinese and got some laughs unintentionally?
再来山姆会讲到我们学语言最怕的不是你不知道怎么讲，而是你自以为学会了某个字的用法，很兴高采烈的以为可以运用自如，却不知其实根本大错特错。像他曾经有一次就很高兴以为他学会了菜单这个词，以为很会讲，有没有？殊不知讲出来其实都是字典，所以他每次去餐厅吃饭都自信满满的跟服务生要字典，让服务生都不知所措，想说这位先生到底为什么要跟我要字典，还是我干脆给他一本词海算了。
I think always is the most dangerous is when you're learning another language. It's not when you don't know a word, but when you think you learn a word and you actually have no idea. I talk about this for a while. I spent a year confusing two Chinese words, caidan, like the menu, and cidian, which is dictionary. So I spent a year walking into restaurants around Taipei and asking for English dictionaries from every waitress who just stared at me with utter confusion. Yeah, it's bad because it's wrong, but it's not wrong enough, Like if I was like English rhinoceros, they'd be like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. Like he clearly wants to. But like a dictionary, they're like, he might want a dictionary. Like he wants. I don't know.
So they had to go like a back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. He's asking for hot sauce and dictionaries. But I don't know. Yeah, this guy's weird. I don't know.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, man, I can see you're such a storyteller already too. You've developed that so well. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, Unfortunately, that is leading us to our last question here on NG 英文, and that is, if you could go back in time and talk to a younger Sam, would there be any advice you give yourself about language, life, or stand-up comedy?
访谈最后 Sam 他有一句话要送给大家 Don't let yourself think that it's too late to start. 好，什么意思嘞？其实就是我们常讲的不管做什么，只要你有心，永远不嫌晚。当然他这句英文里面是没有讲这么多字啦，但传达的意思呢，就是要鼓励我们，不管你是学英文，学一个新语言，还是想要开始学上台讲笑话，或是任何事情，只要有兴趣想要试试看，那就赶快去试。不要怕说哎呀来不及了，我太老了，没时间了，什么什么的。你也知道时间是乳沟，挤一挤就有了。所以啊，鼓起勇气推自己一把，想做什么就赶快去做，不要再找理由借口了。我们赶快来听访谈最后这段分享。
You know, I think actually there's a lot of parallels for advice I would give for learning a language or doing stand-up comedy, which is both is don't let yourself think that it's too late to start. I see this all the time, especially with foreigners in Taiwan who've been here a couple of years and they think, well, I've already missed my chance to learn Chinese. No, you tell yourself that and then you find yourself still here 3 years later and you could have used that time. Same thing for comedy. If you think you might be interested in it, there's no reason not to give it a go. This is a great place. The city's in a great spot right now to have the opportunity to do it. Give it a try and don't worry about losing that time.
Beautiful. Well said. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Whether it's stand-up comedy or it's a language, just begin. Yeah. Well said, my friend. Where can people find more information about 23 Comedy and more about your life on social media?
Cool. The best place is with our Facebook and Instagram, 23 Comedy, 23 Comedy Club on Facebook and 23 Comedy on Instagram. That's where we have all the information about our shows, and you can find everything going on at the club. Also on YouTube, that 23 Comedy page on YouTube, some of my videos on there translated with Chinese subtitles. So check out some stand-up clips and leave a comment. Tell us what you think.
Beautiful, brother. I love how selfless that was. You just shouted out 23 Comedy and not yourself.
Cheers, man.
Awesome. Well, Sam, it's been a pleasure, my man, and I will hope to catch you at a show very soon.
Absolutely, man. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. All right. Bye, everyone. Peace.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, that is our NG 英文 show for today. We hope everyone enjoyed listening to that. You can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and now Spotify. You can search NG 英文, or you can search on IG NG English ICRT. And don't forget to tune in every Wednesday morning from 6:30 to 7 and Wednesday night from 9 to 9:30. We'll catch you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
好，那我们今天西平方的节目 NG 英文就到这边告一段落啦。感谢大家的收听，别忘了到 IG 搜寻我们的粉丝专页 NG 底线 English 再底线 ICRT。大家也要记得每周三早上6点半到7点，或是晚上9点到9点半，把广播调到 ICRT FM 100，准时收听我们节目哦。那也欢迎各位上网搜寻西平方的攻其不备课程，或者呢是到我们西平方的官网多读一些有关 NG 英文的文章，看看有哪些是可以吸收学起来的小撇步哦。我们下周见了，拜拜。